Today I get to talk about the project I've been working on for a little bit. Basically, I wanted to take a PSP and set it up so that you could use it kind of like a home console. So I paired it with the Bluetooth motherboard that Stephen Cooper designed, and I made a 3D printable shell that lets you mount the PSP so you can access the UMD drive. So far, there's not really any Bluetooth builds that let you still use the UMD, so I'm super excited about this. I'll show you the full build, what the process is like. If you want to see the full Bluetooth build, I have a whole video I made about that. So the Bluetooth motherboard and all that I have in a separate video if you want to watch that and see how to put together the board I'm actually taking off here. So I'm just taking the cables apart here, and I'll have to desolder because I want to use the motherboard that's in this white PSP. I was able to get this one essentially out of the trash. It was a box of recycled electronics. So we'll show you here in a second the reason I'm using this PSP. The screen over here looks like this, but when I connect it to the TV out is totally fine. So it looks great there. And I actually tried to do a screen replacement here, and even the brand new screen still looked that way. So it might be a cable connector issue, could be something in the motherboard. Instead of doing all the troubleshooting for that, I decided I'm just gonna use it for this project, which is perfect. So once again, this is the Bluetooth motherboard from Stephen Cooper's GitHub page. If you want to see that, check out the link in the description. I have a whole video where I break down the whole build process because you're going to need that in order to do this build. I wanted to showcase the 3D prints real quick. The only strange thing here is that the middle piece is printed upside down and needs supports. It should load the correct way for you. Just want you to be aware of that. But basically, it just mounts into the bottom upside down like that. And the corner holes all match up with pegs in the base, and you'll actually use your PSP screws, so you want to hold on to those when you take yours apart because the black screws from the inside of your PSP work here in these 5 pegs there. So we'll screw those into place, and then on the bottom here is a little button. When you print this out, make sure you print that button piece. It just slides right into the base, and then once you screw the actual motherboard in, it lets you access the sync button that's on the normally top side of the Bluetooth motherboard. Then we'll just screw in the power cable here, and it looks just like the mounting of the original PSP, so you just drop it into place and then use the little screw there. Then once we have all our cables connected, once again, all that is in the other build video, but once we connect our cables again back to our motherboard, the main difference here is that we're going to slide it back into place where it originally was seated. So we got to make sure we get the power cable there and the UMD drive cable, and then we'll just drop it into place. And you want to click it into the TV out, right? So we're leaving the TV out in the motherboard there below the motherboard where it originally is. Then we'll plug our cables back in, and I'm actually going to put the L and R buttons back on. The top of the shell I designed, if you have the L and R buttons in, it's a little even sturdier because it actually sits on top of the L and R buttons. You don't have to do this, but I thought it was nice to put it back in there, and since I'm not going to use those parts, it makes it easier to have less stuff sitting around, so I just put those back into place. It also does hold the motherboard in, so there's added security there, but we'll add a screw here anyway, which is the original screw for the motherboard. And then all you do is kind of just rotate it in place there, and the shell I designed basically is matching the 4 pegs in the front screen of the PSP. So you would just screw it back together as if you were screwing on the front screen. And you just do all 4 of those holes. They should be lined up just right. And then I just tighten them all down. But yeah, I just mirrored the front screen so that it could mount that way. I put the SD card in now. I did cut a hole out so you can access the SD card once it's fully assembled. It's still a little tight, but I can get to it if I need to. I just prefer putting it in now. It's way easier. Then you kind of drop this in at an angle. This is a middle piece, and you kind of have to like slide it under the PSP and then drop it down at an angle, and you know it's right when it sits flush on top of the power cable there. And then you just grab your, oh, I forgot to put the battery cover on, so we'll pop that on. Then you pop your top over that, and it should fit right into place, no problem, over those kind of like mounting spots there. And then we have 4 screw holes here. 3 are M320s, and then that one is an M310. So it's all M3 screws, but you want ones that are 20 and then a 10 millimeter. So I think the actual length is like 17.8 or something. You can see some dots there. I used 30 millimeter screws by accident originally, so mistake on my part. But still be careful when you're screwing it in place. But here's the front, and then the side there, the back without the cover for the TV out, and then the other side where you can get to the SD card and the button on the bottom. You don't really need to get to that button too much, because once you sync the controller for the first time, all you have to do is turn the controller on and the console will turn back on. But if there's any errors or anything, you can press that sync button to kind of reset the system. So we'll plug in our TV out, and then this little piece just slides right over. So you kind of move the cable a little bit and then slide it down, and you have that little spot for the cable to come out the back. And then you have your power supply there. And then that's pretty much full assembled. All you have to do now is pair a controller and get a game. So I've got Grow Lancers and a PS4 controller. I tend to use those because the Bluetooth works for any controller, but the button mappings are the exact same, right? So if you want to use square, you have the square button, and triangle, and so on and so forth. So we're just going to pair up the controller now. And once we have that in pairing mode, just press the bottom here one time. Just start blinking. Takes almost no time to sync up. And then basically that's now telling the console, all right, time to start up systems. So it takes a little longer for the first time to start up because you took the battery out, right? So you have to kind of do set the date time again, but you only have to do that once. And then after that, it turns on super quick. But here you can see we've got it showing up now. We've got a game loaded up. There's Grow Lancers. And I don't have it in this video, but in a separate video, I show you that you can put the console to sleep and wake it up. And since there's no battery, once again, the sleep, can last forever, which is super nice. So you can just pause the game wherever you want and pick it up at a different time. But yeah, that's the build. Thanks for watching.